What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's me, OG, and welcome back to Sai Axe Gaming. Today I've got something new to my channel, my first top 10 video. Considering I recently finished my playthrough of the Remind DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, I figured a good top 10 to start was a data battle as part of the Limit Cup episode. These battles were all done on critical mode at max level of 99, as well as I have done all of these fights multiple times to get a good understanding of each and every aspect. I'll be judging this list based off of how much I enjoyed the fight rather than how hard they were for me. This means just because I have a fight at number 1, it does not mean it was the hardest fight per se. Just that I enjoyed it the most. Before I start this list, however, I must put out a disclaimer. This list is based off of my own personal opinion and should not be taken as hard fact. We all have our own experiences and opinions with these fights, and if you do disagree, please feel free to comment below your own personal list. I'm very curious to see how the community can differ with these sorts of things, but with that said, let's get into the video. Coming in at our number 10 spot, starting off our list, is young Zane Orders. Now, already I feel like I would get some bash for this entry, but hear me out. I do not dislike any fight on this list, just that I like some more than others. The reason I put young Zane Orders here is because for me, he didn't take as long to learn as some of the others, as well as I don't like his healing ability that he can do. I've never been a big fan of bosses that can heal themselves in this series, when most have so much health as it is. Like Oogie Boogie from Kingdom Hearts 1, for instance, and his healing chamber. That's probably a good explanation of why I don't like healing for bosses. However, I do like how his attacks require good reaction. It really makes you focus on what he's going to do next. There's really not much more really I can say, just that I didn't have as much fun with him as the others, but he still is a very fun fight, don't get me wrong. But with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So Xigbar takes the number 9 spot on this list. Again, I do not dislike any fight, however the reason Xigbar is so low is because I found myself guarding more than actual fighting, because of how much he is shooting. After playing the fight more, I was able to find more openings, however the fight can get boring when you're just constantly waiting to attack. However, when you finally do attack, it does make those moments more worth it. I also did really like the sharpshooter minigame in this fight. It's something we didn't get a lot of in Kingdom Hearts 3, and while it takes really precise timing, the effects are well worth it. His DM is also very similar to Kingdom Hearts 2. Not a copy, but was quick to figure out if you played Xigbar in Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't really have much to say else about him, but let's just get on to the next entry. So coming in at number 8 is going to go to the Rose of Death himself, Marluxia. Honestly, this is where the list starts to get pretty hard to differentiate the placement. I love the death counter aspect because it wasn't a rehash of the one in Kingdom Hearts 2. It had its own feel to it, and he also has an armor stage that can be fun to figure out how to deplete. But I think the only reason he is this low on the list is just I didn't enjoy him as much as the others. I'm sorry if there's not much explanation to this one, but I just personally didn't enjoy him as much as the other fights. But he is still a very good fight, don't get me wrong. Shout out to all you hardcore Marluxia fans out there. Much love to you, but Marluxia just didn't hit it for me in this fight. We're going to get on with the rest of this list, but I hope you understand what I mean by that. So Anselm's going to take our number 7 spot, and I've seen him get some hate from the community, but personally for myself, I actually really like him. The cons of the fight that I'll state is he does run away from you a lot, causing you to need to air step at proper times just to catch up. His DM also has a lot of different things going on, which can make it feel all jumbled up. Sometimes with the dark fireballs, the lasers, dark orbs that can trap you, weird other dark orbs that are very weird, require very weird dodging and blocking, and etc. But I will say any counter you find in this fight feels very rewarding. Also, his last DM, you actually have to beat him during the DM, because he never leaves that stage where the whole stage is kind of in darkness, similar to the Dream Dot Distance fight with Riku. This personally took a while for me to exactly understand, and it's very unique to him personally. I like it, and it takes a bit for you to really understand it, but I can get why some people wouldn't. Just my personal opinion, but I mean, let's just get on with the list because I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. Number 6 goes to Mr. Darkness himself, Vanitas. I used to hate Vanitas fights back in Birth by Sleep, but he's come a long way for me. He doesn't just disappear in the middle of every combo now like he used to, which was very annoying. His combos are pretty straightforward and don't seem too confusing most of the time. Just have to dodge or block properly to get that sweet rewarding counter combo. He also has two completely different DMs. The first one, he rides around on the Keyblades and shoots blizzard spells at you and charges you occasionally. His second one is very similar to the lingering sentiment secret fight in Birth by Sleep, where he covers himself in a dark shield and sends out a dark clone of himself to attack. This DM is very linear, so you don't have to expect something new and surprising. However, it requires very precisely timed guards and dodges and will sure take a few fights to understand. Or, you could just cancel it with a thunder spell right as he starts it. The route is yours to take, and that's just what's so beautiful about these fights. That I didn't even know about that until very long after I learned this fight. But I mean, like I said, this is what's very beautiful about these fights. Anyways, let's get on with the list. So starting off, the top 5 entries on the list is Sai Axe. I'll just say it, I love this fight, and it was very hard to differentiate the last entries on this list. He starts out with attacks that are straightforward and not too confusing to read. As you attack him, his berserk meter will charge up, and once it is fully charged, he will enter his berserk mode. All his attacks from this point on, till his meter dies down, are very powerful, and you need to do your best to guard or dodge them, because most will launch you in the air, and for this fight more than others, being in the air is almost a death sentence. You can also use the blizzard spell, oddly specific Square Enix, but I'll take it, to stop him from charging his meter back up, as he does at some points in the fight. I like this because it requires you to balance your magic in the fight. Yeah, you could heal after you just got a pretty bad hit, but you could get screwed because you won't have any magic to stop his charging, and then you'll be stuck in that phase even longer. After you've ran his meter down, he will return to the same patterns as the first phase in the fight. The only thing I don't like about this fight is the DM. It is super easy to dodge for me personally. You just have to glide around while he roams around the battlefield and air dodge or slide out of the way of his claymores when they come at you. That's just my personal opinions. Maybe others had a hard time during that phase, but personally I just didn't. That's going to conclude this spot on the list, and let's move on. So Riku Replica is going to take the 4th entry on the list. So Riku was personally my first fight of the data battles, and therefore introduced me to the level of difficulty and fun that the battles had to offer. He doesn't have a lot of different attacks as some other fights, but enough variety that it's going to keep the fight interesting. He also has a guard and counter guard mechanic that can catch you off guard, no pun intended, at first. However, you can catch on pretty easily. But I think one reason he is here on the list for me is his DM. Personally, it reminds me of so many good DMs in the past, like the Lingering Will and Sephiroth, where there were a lot of attacks going on, and it seems like too much. But if you just stay calm and read it well, you'll see all it takes is good dodging and guarding, and you can avoid being hit at all. The whole fight also reminds me so much of the Dark Riku fight in Kingdom Hearts 1, giving the fight a little bit of a nostalgia factor for me. And I guess that could be a big reason as to why it's so far high up on the list, but I do like this fight in general, and I hope you guys agree with me. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next entry. So Zane Orders is going to start off our top 5, and I just want to say all of the next fights are top tier. There's very little wrong things that I can find, and really just comes down to how I felt personally. I love how he used the Keyblade in this fight, and he uses transformations with it, turning it into a whip, a Darth Maul style double-sided blade, and even these spiked spinning wheels that remind me so much of Beyblades. But again, while there is so much, there isn't too much, and it all just takes good dodging and blocking. He also has 2 completely different DMs, as he does in the regular final fight in the game. The first is pretty easy. He turns the field into light and launches a lot of attacks at you. If you can find an opening and get an attack on him, it will stop the DM and return to the regular phase of the fight. His second DM is much like Vanitas, where he is invincible and just requires you to really learn it and do the precise countermeasures. For sure, it will take a few fights, or you could just cheese it with Simba like I did on my first try. I don't regret nothing. Don't judge me. Anyways, this fight was very fun and felt really rewarding once I beat it. But let's move on with the list. The Queen herself. I'm sure some people will bash me for not putting her at number one because I have seen she is so many people's favorites, and I completely understand. The music is so bone chilling and really sets the mood for the fight. The attacks are so unlike what we saw in the other fights, and there's even one where the light beams that hit you will reduce your max health when they hit you. This means if you don't guard or dodge, it will set you up badly for the rest of the fight. Also, the battle quotes really hit you. There's even one where she goes, "You'll go where I belong," as if she really feels she doesn't deserve to exist. But you do, Queen. You do. We all know it. Her first DM can be avoided pretty easily with a good shot lock and a counter, but her second and main DM is so amazing and beautiful. She has an armor again, but it's almost impossible to get a full shot lock on her this time, making you sit through more of the DM and making you have to get more counters to reduce her armor. Or you could just last it out. It's up to you. We all love Xion, and Jesus Christ, did I just say? Okay, y'all can slap me for that. Xion, we all love Xion, and I don't think it comes as a surprise that she's pretty high on the list. But let's get on to my number one spot. My top spot is handed off to the man himself, Xemnas. I know a lot of people like him, but not everyone has him as their number one. Personally, I just love all of his attacks. Almost all are counterable, and if you miss that guard or dodge, you can get really screwed over. He also has a phase where he places barriers around the field, and after the third one, he will proceed to attack you directly and fling you towards the barriers. They will not kill you, but will bring you just one health, and therefore the attacks that come after must be paid attention to, because you'll die to the next hit. You can destroy the barriers as he sets them out with magic, or just air step to him as he places it and attack it. But I didn't even know that my first playthrough. But one big thing I love is the DM for sure. It really tests your ability to dodge and guard, as well as his watching all those lasers return from the Kingdom Hearts 2 fight looks phenomenal to me. I just love it. Beating this guy feels so rewarding after such a good fight, and that is why he is my number one on this list. So with that said, this is going to conclude my list. I'm very sorry if some of your favorites didn't match mine, as I know you hope they did. But this is my personal list, and I would love to hear how yours is, so please comment it down below. With that said, let me know if you'd like to see more of these on the channel, because I'd love to do more. I enjoyed making this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Ay, ay, I walk around like that nigga. Finger on the trigger. If a nigga wants some smoke, I let it chop.